Giulia Quadrifoglio is the finest Alfa for a generation, and thanks to hefty depreciation, you can now pick one up for under 40 grand. But should you? Well, Chaps is here to lend some useful consumer advice. Firstly, let's remind ourselves of what we're dealing with. The Quadrifoglio has a 2.9 litre turbo V6 pumping out 510 horsepower and 443 pounds-feet of torque. This makes it good for 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds and a top speed of 191. But enough from me, as it's probably more useful to hear from someone who actually bought one. So let me hand over to a lovely man called Graham.
Hi, my name's Graham and I drive a Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. So I've had it for about five months now. I bought it because I'd sold my old car and I needed a practical saloon car for daily driving, and also wanted something fun and good for weekend driving. Initially, I wasn't a massive fan. It took me a while to get into it, but I'm like totally loving it now. Yeah, it's great. I think it's kind of like Jekyll and Hyde sort of personality. I love a car that can do that anyway, but you can just kind of cruise around calmly, take a non-car person out in it and they wouldn't know the difference. But then if you want to, you can wind it up and go and play with supercars. Just about. I don't have a problem with the gearbox. Like it's quick enough. It's got flappy paddles and stuff. So I'm over the fact that it's not a manual. But I think that if there's one thing I could change, I'd make it a manual probably.
So have you had an issue?
Yes, yeah. It does its classic Alfa thing. At the moment, its favourite thing is to not fold out its wing mirrors. When you turn it on, it just leaves them folded in. Oh yeah, the other various buttons just sort of decide to stop working at points. So it's got like a drive selector so you can change the drive mode. That just decided to stop working for a couple of weeks and then just started working again. But it's all, gives the car character.
Still like a true Alfa.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's the best thing and the worst thing is the fact it's an Alfa.
Yes.
I think probably number one reason for buying it was the fact that it's an Alfa Romeo that's good to drive, which I think is something to be celebrated and enjoyed. I wanted a practical car, I wanted an exciting car. I think there's a quote somewhere of life's too short to drive boring cars, which I very much kind of subscribe to that sort of view. I totally understand people who aren't into cars and don't love them, but I think I've always been into cars. I really like cars, and so I kind of want to have something that is a fun car, so that you when you go out and you go for a drive, that you enjoy it, and that it's all about the journey, not just the destination. It was probably a family thing, really. Back in the day, my mum and dad used to rally a original Mini. I think from there on, there's kind of always been cars. There's always something getting fixed or getting restored in the garage. And so yeah, I just kind of grew up in that kind of environment. Always liked the fact that cars were kind of they like what they are kind of mechanically from an engineering point of view, but also kind of what they enable you to do, the road trips, the people that you can meet. So kind of both sides for me. I just love the kind of the passion and the sort of the enabling factors as well as the engineering side of cars. But one particularly embarrassing accident story actually. So I actually managed to run into the back of my mum one day. I was following her somewhere, and I had a very expensive and very lovely drum kit in the car. She was ahead of me, and I thought she'd pulled out of the junction, and so I was trying to drive as smoothly and calmly as I could because of the drum kit. And then, yeah, she hadn't pulled out of the junction, and I hadn't slowed down enough, and I just ran into the back of her. Yeah, she unfortunately had a tow bar on her car, so hers was fine, but mine was not. Yeah, the drum kit was fine though. The drum kit was absolutely fine, yeah. The 4C. Because I just feel like it was, like the 8C is so sort of iconic, but it's so like up there. Like the 4C was meant to be sort of attainable, but lightweight, cool kind of engine, you know, and just ultimately brutally flawed because it didn't drive very well at all.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed this buyer's guide to the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like and tell us which car you'd like us to explore next down in the comments. If you haven't already, give us a subscribe. You know what to do.